Alright, welcome everybody. My name is Mary Catherine.
I'm Allie Dupree.
And I'm Melissa Webb.
And we're going to talk to you today about the market study of the Pensacola area. So this is our beautiful Pensacola. Up here on the right top hand corner we have downtown Pensacola. On the right hand bottom corner we have a beautiful Pensacola beach. In the middle there is our big Pensacola beach sign. We're known for it. And on the top left, we have our Naval Air Museum, and the bottom left, we have our Fort Pickens. And this is a map of our Panhandle Market and submarkets. We've got Pensacola, Navarre, Perdido, Gulf Breeze, and all of the points in between. So we have a lot of properties. Funnily enough, we don't have any luxury hotels. We only have one of our oldest hotels, which is the Grand Hotel in Pensacola. And it is considered to be one of the more upscale hotels. So we have upscale class, and upper mid-scale class, and we have anywhere from 92 to 100 of each of these classes. So we have urban, suburban, interstate, resort, and metro. We have more urban than any. We have a lot of downtown Pensacola hotels, and metro town, more interstate hotels, and only a few resorts, but more than metro. So we have only one very large hotel, and that's our Grand Hotel. We have a lot of smaller hotels and motels. This makes up the more mid-scale hotels. We have more of these than our larger ones. So Holiday Inn and Hampton both have more chains in Pensacola than any other hotel.
And then we have the current statistics. So in Pensacola, we experience a low occupancy from September to February area because that's our winter months. We don't really experience that many tourists in that area due to the cold. We don't really have many attractions for cold weather, and so we don't really get that much of an occupancy. And then we mainly get tourists come in the summer and spring areas. When it's warm, people can experience the beach. And then our supply and demand is the same. We don't really have that many in the winter times than we do in the summer. And then for our trended data, Pensacola is up at the top. We have a high percent demand and supply change from 87 to 2000, and then we kind of had a drop between 2000 and 2008. That was due to hurricanes, the oil spill, trying to recover from that kind of stuff. And then it starts slowly starting to get better because we're finally getting cleanups and everything's getting fixed. Okay, and then Fort Walton Beach, they experienced a high occupancy in 2006. It's around 80 to 90% room occupancy. And then in 2003 and 2004, we experienced our highest RevPAR. It's at 20 to 30% change.
I will be going over the market breakdown with you guys. The supply and demand actual, it kept increasing over the years. Fort Walton Beach was increasing more than the rest of the Panhandle, but it stayed consistent for each submarket. That goes along with the occupancy and ADR as well. It's gone up every single year. And same for RevPAR.
And then this is our comparable markets. This is the Panhandle of Florida. And here we are in the corner, Pensacola. We have a lot of hotels in the area, but Orlando has the most hotels because they have a lot more population, a lot more tourist attractions down there. our main tourist attraction, like I said, is the beach for the summer and spring times. But our hotel industry has been increasing as of July 2018. We're slowly rebuilding. And then Pensacola versus Fulton Beach, Orange Beach, and Panama City. Pensacola, over here in the corner, is getting more hotels than the other submarkets. And the supply and demand for Panama City is skyrocketed from 2017 and the beginning of 2018.
For types of business, we can see that on the weekends we have more occupancy, more ADR, just because it's a more leisure area. Still, we do have conferences, businesses coming in on the weekdays, but our weekends are obviously higher than usual just because it's a vacation area and people want to come away on their weekdays. Weekends. Sorry. And we can see here that July we have more occupancy than usual, just because it's the summertime, it's hot, everyone wants to get away. We have more activities during the summertime in June and July. We have the Blue Angels, and just to enjoy the beach. And same for ADR, just it's higher during the summertime with more attractions. The demand percent, it went up in 2015 just because between 2010 to 2015, that's when we had the oil spill, so there's a big decrease in demand and supply. And the ADR percent change was also fluctuating much in 2015 as well.
So this is our pipeline. This is what's going on right now, what's changing. So our room supply and supply percent change. We are gaining more hotels, and so the supply is growing to compete and allow for the demand of more tourists. So we have a few upscale properties being put into plan and under construction at the moment. We have a Residence Inn, Hilton Gardens, Staybridge, and we are constantly growing to fit the demand. We have a lot of people who are recognizing us as a hot tourist destination, so we want to be able to match the demand. So we have a lot more hotels that are going up, like I said, to fit the demand and provide options for our tourists.
And then Pensacola hurricanes. We have so many hurricanes in the Florida Panhandle. It's crazy how many hurricanes we have. We just had Hurricane Michael in Panama City. But no matter how many hurricanes we have, we're going to constantly rebuild and get everything back the way it should be. We've come a long way since Opal and Ivan and Katrina. We had a lot of destruction, and we finally are starting to recover from that. That's why another reason why we have so many hotels being rebuilt and continuing to be built.
So just to wrap up, we would like to thank you for listening to us today. We have a lot of good hotels in the works. We have a history of fluctuating supply and demand, and we can't wait to see what's in store for Pensacola next. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Today we'll be talking about the market study for Pensacola. I'm Summer Siege.
I'm Taylor Jordan.
Hannah Barrero.
Konami Kano.
Tyler Rollins.
So I'll start off with the general makeup of Pensacola. As for Pensacola, our most upscale hotel is the Pensacola Grand, and it is also our oldest. We have a lot more mid-scale to economy scale hotels in Pensacola. We don't have any luxury. So, the majority of all of the rooms in Pensacola, we have 17,176 for the mid-scale range. For all of our upper scale and lower scale hotels, it's a much less number. Like I said before, we don't have any luxury hotels here, but we do have that Pensacola Grand, and that would be our highest rated hotel here. We have some nice ones out at the beach too, like Portofino and Margaritaville. The majority of our hotels are located near like more populated areas like our downtown and near the interstates. We have the most in economy and the upper mid-scale area, and then like I said, by the interstates and downtown, so that would be the suburban areas of town. So for our submarkets, the census properties of Pensacola, we have 92, which is pretty good in comparison to all the other ones within the Panhandle region. And we have about 8,000 to 9,000 rooms in Pensacola. Some characteristics of the market. Our hotels are located near interstates, roads, so since we have a big tourist attraction with Pensacola, we wanted to keep the hotels near all of the roads and the main attractions. We have a clear target group of tourists and people who come here for our main attractions. And then we have provided a lot of personalized content based on which hotels we are going to build for the future. This is the map of the whole Panhandle. In a study from 2016, 2.1 million tourists visited Escambia County and created a $94 million tax revenue for our county, which is great. And then on to current statistics.
Okay, there are three main key performance indicators that we focus on for the hotel market: occupancy, ADR, and RevPAR. This is the graph that shows ADR and occupancy in the last 4 years, and the number of ADR and occupancy are gradually growing. And this is the graph that shows supply, demand, and revenue revenue values. And in October, the number of revenue and demand decreased because of the hurricane. And this is the graph that shows levels of annual occupancy in Pensacola versus neighboring Panhandle areas such as Tallahassee, Panama City, and Fort Walton Beach.
So I will be talking about the trended data, and we have some historic events in Pensacola and the surrounding areas, which are mostly hurricanes. So we have the 1995 Hurricane Opal, 2004 Hurricane Ivan, and 2005 Hurricane Dennis, which all affected Pensacola. And we had to obviously rebuild after those times, and it takes a while, and it also takes away from the revenue in Pensacola in the tourism industry. So this is the long-term performance trends, and it says a continuous increase in ADR and occupancy in the last 10 years and a demand increase that grows each year. So this just shows the last 4 years of the ADR and occupancy. And this is actual values compared to percent changes. The actual values you can see kind of skyrocketed and then plummeted in 2005. That's just because of Hurricane Dennis. And this is the ADR for Pensacola, and the ADR has been just gradually increasing over the years.
Alright, and with the market segmentation of Pensacola, mainly we are a leisure side, and people come here for the attractions like the baseball games, hockey games. We used to have an arena football team, but that dropped. And they're mainly gonna have like chain hotels within the urban and suburban areas. But there's not many resorts. There's a few on the beach that are actually really popular, like Portofino and Margaritaville. But many of the types of hotels offered in the Pensacola area, like I said, are the Marriott's hotels, the Holiday Inns, Hiltons, stuff like that. So there's not really much business done here, I guess you could say. It's just mainly leisure.
In the comfortable markets, comparable markets, majority of the hotels, like he said here, are leisure. We have the airport, the historic, the suites, the bed and breakfasts, and there's 74 properties in the Pensacola Regional Line. Pensacola and Tallahassee have the same occupancy, about the same occupancy rates, and Fort Walton Beach and Pensacola have a different range and have much lower when compared. As you can see, the demand change for Pensacola is far less than Fort Walton, Panama City, and Orange Beach in the last 12 months, starting with July 2018.
Next, types of business. And this is the graph of quarterly averages of occupancy in Pensacola. And in 2014 has the highest number of occupancy. And this is the graph that shows actual ADR by day of week. And of course Friday and Saturday has the highest number. And in total year, last August to this July, the number grew very much.
So, for the future for Pensacola, this is our pipeline. So for the future of Pensacola, we're probably going to continue to build those mid-scale economy class hotels near the interstates and the suburban and urban areas because, like we mentioned before, it's quite the touristy area with all of our attractions, with our gallery nights and our sporting events and the Blue Angels. This is like the home of Blue Angels. So for the future of Pensacola, we're going to be building those upper mid-scale hotels. These are some of the hotels that are in planning right now. The ones that are in construction are a Fairfield Inn and a Residence Inn. They are both going to be built relatively soon for us in January and September, and they're those mid-scale hotels. And then some that are in final planning are Hilton, Home to Suites, Staybridge, True by Hilton, and Home to Suites. Those are all going to be built within the following year, and those are also those mid-range size hotels that fit our community well.
All right. And to sum it up, like we said, this place is just mainly a leisure place. People come for like main attractions like our museums, nightlife, baseball games, the beach mainly during the summer. We're continuously getting growth within demand within the area because of all the main attractions. So hopefully we do better in the future. Thank you.
Hello, we are group number 3, and we're going to be talking about the market study for Pensacola. I'm Megan Rasmussen.
I'm Macy. I'm Sarah.
I'm Haley.
And I'm Noah.
So to start off, the general makeup and properties of rooms by chain, number of rooms. Surf and Sand Hotel for Pensacola has the least amount of rooms, and the Portofino Island Resort and Spa has the most with 765 rooms. Properties and rooms by special/historical hotels. That would be an example of Pensacola Grand. It is the oldest hotel in Pensacola. It is a full-service hotel. It offers 24-hour food service. It's located in the heart and center of Pensacola. It was built in 1982. They got a investment to turn it into a hotel, and it was finished in 1984, and it is still an operating hotel. Some general makeup takeaways would be, people ask, why does nobody invest in luxury resorts in the Pensacola area? And that is because of hurricanes. As we just saw, Hurricane Michael basically destroyed Mexico Beach and Panama City. So that's a reason investors don't want to put a luxury resort in the Pensacola area.
So as you can see the types of businesses Pensacola with the weekday and weekend actual occupancy. So there's a lot more occupancy in the weekends in Pensacola than there are going to be in the weekdays. And for the weekends, it looks like that 2017 occupancy in Pensacola was the highest. And the weekdays highest was in 2018. So the total of both of them is like in between the weekday and the weekend. So Pensacola has a few anticipated openings coming up pretty soon. The closest one is going to be January 2019 with 86 rooms. And then the lowest one is actually going to be with 83 rooms, which will be opening in January 2020. And then the hotel that has the highest of number of rooms is going to be opening in December 2020 as well, the 102. So with some current statistics, this will help show what the market has done in previous years and also what the actual values are. And it's going to be, the key performances are going to be occupancy, ADR, RevPAR, and the raw data values are going to be your supply, demand, and revenue.
Okay, so for the current statistics of occupancy, the next graph on the next slide will show the increases and decreases of the percent change. And because you can see the busiest times of the year were in June and July because summer we're a vacation spot, but we were still pretty busy in every other part of the year. On the x-axis, it's going to be the actual averaged out percent change, and then or what the percent change would turn into, and then the y is the amount it did change. So you can see there's spikes, that's obviously for vacation time and just new attractions opening up. And then the major drops are because of hurricanes that we had and just the recession in 2009 that affected us pretty well too. And then the impact of hurricanes on the trending data, hurricanes make travelers very nervous or just they don't really know if it's going to be a good spot to go to. So obviously because we're on the Panhandle and we just got hit by a hurricane, it kind of just backs up the travelers' feelings. And then the area that became damaged, and it takes a lot of time to rebuild. So the economy gets affected because we lose the travelers we're losing the money, and we're spending money to get everything back and rebuilt. And it affects the RevPAR, ADR, occupancy, and revenue in the total area. And then the takeaways from trending data, Pensacola by room supply and demand percent change in 2005 was at an all-time low of -23. And in 2005 as well, it was the highest for occupancy percent change with a 35%. And because of Hurricane Katrina, the occupancy dropped to -15%. And for Pensacola, Fort Walton, Orange Beach, by room, RevPAR percent change, the RevPAR for Orange Beach was the lowest in 2009 at -20. And then the highest in Pensacola was in 2005 at 21.
Okay, so this graph right here demonstrates the room by RevPAR percent change. So the massive spike that you guys probably all looked at first, that in 2005 and 2004 we had Ivan, we had Katrina, we had Dennis as well. And then as you see, we started to go up a little bit for Pensacola, but then we had the market crash in 2009 and then it kept going down. Okay, so Pensacola, if you looked at it by the different kinds of hotels we have, the highest demand is for the upper scale and the upper mid-class scale hotels. You don't see a whole lot of economy chain, even though there is a demand for it. Pensacola would rather put a nicer hotel up than a kind of more economy chain. And when you look at Pensacola in terms of rooms, the amount of rooms compared to our surrounding areas, we are the third smallest to our surrounding areas. But in terms of other performance numbers, we are right up there along the other ones. And then the highest demand for hotels you see here would be in Pensacola. Our supply and demand is pretty close up there to each other. So Pensacola could afford to add a few more hotels to meet that supply. But right now, in current standings, Pensacola is doing quite well.
Okay, and then this here is the historic occupancy seasonality. This is from Sunday to Saturday, as you can see, from August of 2015 to July of 2018, so fairly recent. As you can see, on closer to the weekend, so Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, that's when the occupancy rates are the highest. We do get the weekend travelers, of course. They come and visit Pensacola Beach, and then Sundays, usually people are checking out, so that is why it is the lowest, of course. People are, that's their travel day to go home. And then this is our Pensacola actual room supply and supply percent change. As you can see, in 2005, same thing, the recession, of course, and everything. The hurricane. That's why the percent change, of course, changed in the year. And then in 2009, that's when the recession was, and people weren't looking to travel, didn't have any money, so people were not visiting Pensacola Beach. And then this is the pipeline by chain. As you can see, the two main ones that have the highest number of room are the Hamptons here in the Quality Inn Suites. And just to sum it up, basically Pensacola and Pensacola Beach, main attractions, downtown sports, and everything. We have Blue Wahoos, we have Blue Angels Weekend, that's huge in Pensacola. We draw in a lot of tourists to that. We also have Fort Pickens in the Naval Air Station as well. Another thing to take away is hurricanes have a huge impact on our area since we are on the Gulf Coast here. It does cause a lot of damage, which is why for the future and current developments, investors are very leery on building luxury resorts here just because we do have the chances of hurricanes coming and destroying the area.
Hello, we're Group 4. My name's Anna.
I'm Megan.
Alex.
Allie. And Riley.
And we'll be talking about the Pensacola market. So these are the 7 different sections we'll be further discussing, mostly in the Florida Panhandle. So Pensacola brings in a lot of draw because of our beautiful beaches, our family-friendly destinations and activities, and also our conference centers bring in our business professionals as well.
So currently in Pensacola, there are 91 census properties, and 61 of these properties are considered chain hotels. And chain hotels are just hotels or properties that occur in other areas other than just Pensacola itself. And one example of a chain hotel in Pensacola is Margaritaville Beach Hotel. It has 162 rooms. It's located on Pensacola's beautiful beach, and it's also a nice venue for weddings. And we also have only one resort-style hotel in the area, and it's Portofino Island Resort. It has 5 towers, a bunch of pools, gift shops, bars, and it has over 700 condo accommodations. And we have to think, what brings people to Pensacola? What is our shining star? So Pensacola Beach is obviously one of the biggest tourist attractions. We have our Blue Angels Air Show every summer. It's a tradition. Couples, families, elderly people, military folks, they can all come and they can join and see the beautiful Pensacola Blue Angels flying over the beach. And that being said, we also have our Pensacola Naval Air Station, Eglin Air Force Base, and it's a nice area for the military folks to come and see Pensacola itself while being stationed here for work. And downtown Pensacola is an area for everyone of all ages. We have bars, shops, restaurants, and it's a nice area. It's got a lot of history. It's got a lot of draw to the area. And last but not least that we have to offer is Pensacola Blue Wahoo Stadium. It's home to not only our Pensacola Blue Wahoos, but also our very own UWF Argonauts. We have been able to be fortunate enough to play at that field for our home games.
So when looking at the Pensacola market, we look at the current statistics. So the occupancy for Pensacola is 66.8%. So then we look at the average daily rate, which is $121.36. So then we look at the revenue per available room, which is $81.11, which seems really low. But when you look at the revenue in one day, it's over $89 million. So then we ask where we get these numbers. How many rooms are available in Pensacola? There's over 1 million available rooms. But when you look at the demand, there's only 700 sold. So then we compare it to other markets. We compare it to Fort Walton Beach, Panama City, and Gulf Shores. When you compare Pensacola to Fort Walton Beach, you see that Fort Walton Beach is a lot more successful. Their occupancy may be lower,
but their average daily rate is a lot higher, and their revenue is over $300 million. And this could be due to it's a more tourism area, it's closer to Destin, there's an aquarium, things like that.
Now, unfortunately, we are in a hurricane-prone area, and of course this has to happen to our most profitable time of year. You can see here this graph shows you exactly the supply and demand change, and it shows you exactly when these hurricanes have hit. Because it's very apparent, you have a small spike right here in 2004, right around Katrina time. And then you have Katrina, Ivan, and Dennis all hit right around that same time. And you see first supply takes a dip as hotels are closing, they're renovating, what have you. And immediately after, demand takes a dip. And you can attribute this to the renovations, but media has just as much an impact. People's perception that we're not open for business, that we've been destroyed, what have you. So it takes time to earn that trust back from people. And here we can show the last graph was for 10 years. These are just for 5, so you can see a little more detail, broken down by the different chains. So on my left here, you can see that these 2 blue lines, the dark blue and the light blue, are both for upscale chains. You see a sharp incline in percent change around 2014, 2015, and there's a sharp decline right around 2017. What we were able to find is right then was when Margaritaville was renovating. So the supply obviously went down. They renovated the entire hotel, and then it came right back up, and they reopened right about 2018. So it's funny how one hotel can impact a line on percent change like this so drastically. What I do want to point out, it is percent change. So like on the graph on the right, some of these lines are showing a downturn. However, they're all above the 0% line. So even though they're showing a downturn, they're still producing, the ADR is still improving every single year. So these are percent changes from the year before. For instance, these 3 lines up above here are all ADR. What's curious is that occupancy has taken a downturn these last few months. So that is a curious, compared to last year, anyway. And here we can see the full map of our competition, essentially. This is the entire Emerald Coast, from Panama City all the way to Gulf Shores, Alabama. We all have the same white sand beaches. So what sets us apart? That's a big question. Pensacola is a little bit more urban, a little busier, a little more cultural, more history. Whereas you get closer to the Fort Walton Beach, Destin area, and 30A, get these smaller boutique hotels, a little bit more luxury, a little more privacy maybe. And at least in the past, Panama City's been more known for the spring break life. Of course, because of the devastation that happened in Panama City for Hurricane Michael, we were very fortunate on this side. But we are expecting a little bit more of that hospitality business to come towards us in a few years.
Alright, so businesses in Pensacola bring in the highest amount of revenue and increasing occupancy rates during the weekends and summertime each year. And as you can see on this graph right here, you can see the transient, it stays steady throughout the year because it is the group traveler, the families and leisure travelers. And then as you can see for groups, it has a decline right after spring break, and then it increases back up right after summertime. And then for our pipeline, Pensacola is growing and developing more and more each year. The graph shows July 2013 to July 2018. You can see that the independent hotels are the highest growing hotels at the moment, but the upper middle scale is the ones that are currently still growing.
So all in all, we've discussed a lot of Pensacola's resort, our only one. Hotels, chains, everything that ties in with that. We've seen our competition, Fort Walton Beach, Gulf Shores, and Panama City. And we just wanted to give you a little bit of perspective on what Pensacola itself has to offer, and we thank you so much for your time.
Alright, so I want to thank you all for being here today to witness our presentation, and thank you for taking the time out of your days to be here. And my name is Kayla.
Mariah. I'm Emily.
And I'm Kyle.
So Pensacola has some special attractions like the Blue Wahoos and the Blue Angels, as well as the Lighthouse, Joe Patty's Seafood House, and specifically UWF. And and our beaches are our most popular attraction and was rated #1 from US Today's Best Readers. Okay. All right, so this is a map of our General Pensacola submarket. You can see the airports as well as the interstate. Pensacola has a submarket total of 8,437 rooms in chains, and our upper mid-scale economy and independent chains are most, as well as our rooms. As you all know, we are affected by hurricanes ever so often, and so because of that, our suburban hotel locations are the most popular because they are further inland, away from the water.
All right, speaking on current statistics. So for those of you that aren't in the industry, ADR is going to be your average daily rate. And then occupancy is obviously how many rooms are occupied in the hotel. This is going to be a 5-year range, and as you can see here, you can tell that the ADR and the occupancy has gradually increased over the past 6 years. And then this is going to be the percent changes for supply and demand over the past 6 years, which is important as well. You can see once again that it's kind of gradually increased, and the lines there are going to be your percent change. All right, and then as far as our competition, Fort Walton Beach has a lot to offer, and they are one of our biggest competitors. Their ADR is going to be a lot higher because they have more supply, therefore it allows for more occupancy. So some takeaways there. We haven't had any major hurricanes hit since 2005, but we have had a few tropical storms here and there that have affected us. And like I said, Fort Walton does have the highest supply.
Speaking of trended data, over the years we have seen peaks and valleys in supply and demand actual percent change. Starting in 1995, we had Hurricane Opal, which caused devastation. So of course, supply and demand will take a hit. Then right here in 1998, we had a hurricane that hit Orange Beach, Hurricane Georges. That although it didn't affect us, but those of you that don't know, the eastern side of the hurricanes are the most rigorous and the most devastating. So with that being west to us, we had a hit as well. Then right here around 2004, we see a drastic drop because we had 3 major hurricanes. Hurricane Ivan, Dennis, and Katrina hit our area. So again, the hotels were damages. Supply was lost due to hotels closing down to renovations and rebuilding. And right here, we see an increase as the hurricanes, as the hotel starts to rebuild. And after 2010, the demand will constantly increase. This here graph is the occupancy and ADR, and they're going to follow the same trends as the years the hurricanes hit. So for our takeaways, over the years we have hurricanes, we had the oil spill, as you know, and we had the stock market crash. So after each devastation, there's a 3-phase period that area go through. It's the assessment phase, the restoration, the rebuilding, and the rebuilding of relationships with suppliers, consumers, and the community that you live in.
Alrighty then, speaking on types of business. As you can see right here, this is a graph for 7 years, and you can see from it that weekend is the most popular time for people to travel. For days of week, you can see that Friday and Saturday are the most popular times for people to travel to the hotels, whereas Sundays are the least popular because many people are normally leaving on Sundays. Then during the monthly average, May, June, and July are the most popular months because those are during summer vacation. And as you can see, it is a steady increase as the graph continues on. Right here, you can see that in 2014, there is a major increase, but as you continue closer to 2016, it drops drastically due to a lot of mass terrorist attacks and other things, so a lot of people don't feel comfortable traveling. Some business takeaway is that there's a gradual rise on weekend and weekday ADR and occupancy. July appears to be the most dominant month for ADR and occupancy.
All right, comparable markets. As we said before, Fort Walton Beach has the most supply. This bottom line here is going to be our total of all four of those. So we got 30,653 rooms. All right, and demand and actual percent change. Panama City Beach, as said before in other groups, that's going to be like a spring break destination. So we actually do kind of compare to Panama City Beach. We are pretty close in comparison there. All right, and once again there with Fort Walton Beach, it's going to have the highest ADR.
So for market breakdown, you can see that it mostly remains the same. 2017 is the only one that has at least a little bit of difference. It does increase a little bit. For occupancy and ADR, 2017 for occupancy seems to be the highest number, whereas for ADR, 2016 through 2018 tend to gradually rise or stay closest to the same. Some impacts of hurricane on market breakdown and supply and demand is there's a vast amount of hurricanes or tropical storms that have directly and indirectly impacted our city in the last 5 years, like Hurricane Dennis and Michael, which recently hit us. And as the hurricane hits, the demand rises and the revenue increases, causing ADR to rise. And in Pensacola, the most important 5-year change from the supply mid-scale chain and the least dramatic change comes from the economy chain demand.
Talking about pipeline, over the past 7 years, these are some of the hotels that have opened up recently. You have the Spring Hill Suites being the largest, newest hotel, opening in June 2017. And then the Hampton Inn and Suites opening only with 75 rooms. So right now in construction, about 50-50 of the market will be the upscale and upper mid-scale. The final planning phase, about 59% will be your upscale, 21% will be your upper mid-scale, and then about 20% will be your mid-scale chains. So anticipation open days, these are the hotels that are planned to open within the next year or two, with the largest chain being the Hilton Garden Inn, bringing about 102 rooms, and the smallest chain of Home2 Suites bringing 83 rooms. And this is just a graph showing how the hotels anticipated to open, how they stack up against one another. And the top 3 brands being Hilton Garden Inn, Home2 Suites, and Staybridge Suites. Pensacola takeaways. Pensacola has been increasing about 9.26% since 2013. And like I say, we see that Pensacola is steadily developing, with the market being 50-50 in construction between upscale and upper mid-scale. And there will be a 10.13 increase in the near future, with the market breaking down 59% upscale, 21% upper mid-scale, and then 20% mid-scale. And like I say, Hilton Garden Inn will be the largest, newest hotel at 102 rooms, opening up in 2020. Home2 Suites will be the smallest, newest hotel, opening in 2020.
Right, and as we follow keep following the trends we have in the Pensacola submarket right now, without having any hurricanes or major drastic events, we expect for everything to keep rising. Now, with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about Michael and how that has affected us. Though Panama City Beach and that general area was affected the greatest, we have been affected for our submarket, including ADR, occupancy, and RevPAR and revenue, because with all the refugees coming from the Panama City Beach area, they are coming here to Pensacola and to the surrounding areas and increasing.
So we would like to thank you for your time, and we are so eager to look forward to see what Pensacola has to offer in the near future.
Thank you, judges and classmates, for being here. I know you're probably tired of hearing all this 6 times over, so we're going to try and make it quick, and we're going to try to summarize all of our data for you as best as we can. My name is Emily.
I'm Caitlin.
Alexis.
I'm Coralie.
I'm Adi.
And this is our Panhandle Market Study.
Okay, so starting out with the general makeup of the market. Where are we looking? As you can see, we start in Leon County. We come all the way over to Escambia County. We're also going to include Gulf Shores and Orange Beach in our study just because of how close they are. This is just a map showing that we go from Panama City Beach is included, Fort Walton, Pensacola Beach, and then Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. So what does Pensacola have to offer specifically? Of course, we have the sugar sand beaches. What can be greater than that, right? We have the Blue Angels. We're home with the Blue Angels. We have the National Naval Aviation Museum. We have the Umbrella Festival every year. Of course, we have UWF, go Argos, the Pensacola Lighthouse and such. As you can see, these suburban properties are the highest. Second best is resorts. We do have a lot of hotels that are in the surrounding areas, not quite on the interstate, but a little bit farther, so they have a quieter experience whenever they're staying. The most that we have are independent chains, like our Pensacola Grand. And then we have the upper mid-scale chains, which are like your Holiday Inn Express, Holiday Inn, and Hampton Inns.
And right here we have a current statistic. Current statistics basically is like the ideal method for the hotel that's showing how their performances. And there's 6 key performance that included. We have EDR, RevPAR, occupancy, and online rating, and customer satisfaction, and advertising ROI. And right here we have current statistic of Pensacola occupancy, ADR, and RevPAR. In the 2014 we have a high occupancy, and we just dropped to, in 2018, dropped below to -5.5. And the ADR, we have highest ADR on 2015, and also increasing ADR in 2018. And RevPAR, we have really high 14.5 in the 2014, and then really decreasing in the 2018. Right here we have supply, demand, and revenue percentage. As we can see, the highest supply we have here in 2018, and the highest demand we have in 2014, and we suddenly just dropped to -2.6 in the 2018. And the last one, we have revenue. Our revenue, the highest one is 2014, as well as the demand, because the more demand we have, the more revenue we can get. And also, as the drop of the demand, and in the 2018, we also have less revenue in the 2018. And this is a brief statistic of impact of the Hurricane Dennis and Katrina. in the occupancy, we still have the highest one in Pensacola, and the ADR we have Fort Worth the highest, and as well in the RevPAR.
All right, so our trended data for our market, you see that the spikes throughout all of these graphs, even throughout our next slides, are going to be around the 2006, roll from 2004 to 2006. It's basically whenever all of the hurricanes hit, Katrina, Ivan, and so on, and then you'll see kind of like when it goes lower, whenever the recession was. Same thing here. This is a little bit more not as standard. There are spikes kind of everywhere, but you'll still see that same 2004, 2006 point where the spikes were just a little bit more dramatic than the rest. Here, everything is slowly increasing throughout the years, but you will see, like I said, in that 2004 to 2006 range, how it stays the same, or it doesn't stay the same, but it's also like that trend that whenever those hurricanes hit, that there was definitely an impact on our room supply and demand. All right. For our Pensacola room and occupancy and ADR percent change, the occupancy spiked in 2004, but actually lowered in 2006, 2008. I think that might be something to do with people thinking that we're still rebuilding and figuring things out because of all the hurricanes that hit in 2004. With the ADR, it kind of stays the same, and it's kind of always still above that line without spiking below the zero line. Here you'll see everything kind of gradually grows as well. The occupancy does have a spike in 2005 though. Here you kind of see the percent change from 1988 on that top chart, and then on the bottom the Pensacola room RevPAR actually combined. The actual combined from 1988 to 2017 is a lot smoother than you'll see the RevPAR percent change, but you'll still see that same spike in the years of 2004 to 2006.
So for market breakdown, we're going to kind of focus on the supply and demand percent change. And if you look at for the upscale one, we have more of a supply and demand. And that would be more of your Courtyard, Pensacola downtown, as well as Spring Hill Suites. We have more of a supply and demand for those type of hotels than any other hotels. As you can see, the economy ones are really low below. And this is the same, it's showing you the same thing but with different years. So you have 2013 to 2018, and it's still the same. For 2018, you have the highest for the upscale, and that's the highest that we've ever had.
These two graphs right here are going to show your occupancy and ADR percent change, as well as your occupancy and ADR, and this is all for the last 5 years. As you can tell, the orange bars indicate your ADR, your blue ones indicate your occupancy. Here in Pensacola, Escambia County, Santa Rosa County, we are known for having I guess less costly cost of living. It's a lot cheaper to live here than most places. So we do cater to most economy mid-scale, whereas we do also cater to the upscale with our recreational activities and our leisure travelers. So we do carry the name of like the Sunshine State, you know. We're known for having fun, we're known for being beautiful, a great tourist spot. Okay, this graph right here will show your actual occupancy and percent change. We noticed a higher percent change in your mid-scale and economy classes. Thank goodness, because those are our biggest segments, as well as we also noticed that the ADR tends to be bigger for the luxury upscale upper classes. ADR does tend to be more expensive when you're selling more expensive rooms in a more expensive and higher class hotels.
For comparable markets, these are focus points like the submarkets of Florida, and it ranges from Central to Florida to West Palm Beach.
For the Panhandle itself, which we already went through what we're going to look at specifically, we can see, but we're going to look at all of Florida's submarkets per se. And Orlando has the higher number for hotels, but we already stated that it's because of tourism. It's a higher tourism place. We have Disney World there, and we have more attractions there than Pensacola. We do see Miami as well. It's a bigger tourist place. I'm from Miami. They do focus on beaches just like Pensacola, but Miami doesn't have seasons per se like Pensacola. So you're going to see way more tourists go there rather than the Panhandle like us, because we do have more seasons.
Also, when you think about it, they're bigger cities. They have more airports. You have more travelers coming through, whether it's just connecting travelers. And then next we have types of business. We've got a lot of healthcare. We've got our Sacred Heart. Our children's Sacred Heart is opening up next year. Actually, Sacred Heart specializes in children and adults, which is why it's so popular in this area. We also have Pensacola State College, Pensacola Christian College, UWF, all very, very prosperous schools. And then we have international access. So we have a lot of international travelers from Asia, Europe, all over the world. Lastly, for types of business, we have our weekdays and weekends separated. As you all know, business travelers tend to leave on Mondays and then check in on Mondays, check out on Sundays. And so we have a lot more business. For example, we have our gallery nights on Fridays. Saturdays we have our bazaars downtown, and Sundays we have everybody leaving, saying goodbye. Okay, and then this is occupancy by day of the week over from 2010 to 2008.
Okay, let's sum it all up. So going forward, Pensacola is looking at a lot more of the upper mid-scale hotels to be filled, more family-friendly, price-friendly, etc. As Panama City rebuilds, over the long term, I'd say probably about 20 years out, we are looking at an influx first of people due to the Hurricane Michael, and then slowly they'll start going back towards Panama City. Thank you.